Stop scrolling for a second. Look at the shoes you're wearing, the haircut you currently have, the political opinion you posted yesterday that got all those likes. Everybody is talking about this moral outrage right now. It feels real, doesn't it? It feels solid. It feels like the truth. But 5 years ago, those shoes were ugly. 10 years ago, that opinion would have gotten you fired. And 50 years ago, your entire moral framework would have been unrecognizable. We live in an era obsessed with the current thing. We are drowning in ephemeral content, doomed to forget today's viral sensation by tomorrow morning. We accept that fashion is a trend. We accept that slang is a trend. But here's the terrifying question I want to lodge in your brain today. What if everything is a trend? What if your deepest convictions, your morality, your patriotism, your concept of love, even your belief in reality itself, are just intellectual Beanie Babies? Things we collectively decided were valuable for a moment in history, only to eventually be discarded in the clearance bin of time? We curate our lives online like museums for an audience that isn't watching. We adopt personas. We adopt the correct opinions. The American writer Chuck Palahniuk, who captured the nihilism of the late 20th century so well, said, "Nothing of me is original. I am the combined effort of everyone I've ever known." If that's true, are you a person, or are you just a playlist of current societal trends compiled by an algorithm you don't control? This isn't a new anxiety. We just have faster delivery systems for it. Let's randomly jump back 2,500 years to Ephesus. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus looked at reality and realized nothing holds still. He famously said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man." Think about that next time you refresh your Twitter feed. It's not the same feed, and you, having absorbed 30 new pieces of information in as many seconds, are not the same person. You are a fluidity trying to pretend you are a statue. We look back at history and laugh. We laugh at the divine right of kings. We laugh at geocentrism. We laugh at the medical theory of humors. We think, oh, those silly ancestors, they were just following the trends of their ignorant times. Thank goodness we finally got it right. The arrogance of the present is staggering. The modern American philosopher Richard Rorty argued that truth wasn't something we discover out there in the universe like a buried treasure. He argued that truth is just a compliment we pay to the sentences that seem to work for us right now. What we call knowledge is just the current consensus of the coolest kids at the historical lunch table. And nobody understood the destructive power of shifting societal trends better than the 19th century Russians. Leo Tolstoy, before his religious turn, looked at the artificiality of high society, the trends of manners and beliefs, and saw profound emptiness. He wrote in Anna Karenina, "All the variety, all the charm, all the beauty of life is made up of light and shadow." We are chasing the light and shadow of the moment, mistaking the projection for the wall it's projected on. And this brings us to the biggest trend of human history, the one that lasted thousands of years and is currently, finally, going out of style in the developed world: religion. For millennia, if you didn't subscribe to the God trend, you weren't just unfashionable, you were dead. It was the ultimate mandatory social paradigm. But from an atheistic perspective, what is religion if not the longest-running viral meme in human history? A psychological comfort blanket passed down because it helped our ancestors cope with the terror of death and the unknown. The late great Christopher Hitchens, a modern British-American thinker who had zero patience for this particular historical trend, put it bluntly: God did not create man in his own image. Evidently, it was the other way about, which is the painless explanation for the profusion of gods and religions. Hitchens recognized that we created a celestial dictator because it was trendy to have a cosmic daddy figure watching over us. But we are growing up. The trend is fading. So, what replaces it? When the ultimate trend, God, dies, what is left? This is where the Russian thinkers really bring the gloom. Fyodor Dostoevsky, through his characters, wrestled with the terrifying implications of a world where morality is just a human invention, a trend. In The Brothers Karamazov, the idea is presented that if God does not exist, everything is permitted. Now, as atheists, we know that's not entirely true. We don't run around murdering people just because we don't fear hell. We have evolved empathy. But philosophically, he's right. Without an external anchor, morality is just what we currently agree upon. Slavery was moral for millennia. Now it's not. What are we doing today that will be viewed as barbaric in 200 years? Eating meat, capitalism, imprisonment. The 20th century French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, let's throw a Frenchman in the mix, called this nausea. The sickening realization that existence is absurd and entirely contingent. He said, "Everything has been figured out, except how to live." We have to go back to the beginning. Back to Athens. To the man who annoyed everyone by refusing to accept the trends of his day as truth. Socrates. The Oracle of Delphi allegedly said Socrates was the wisest man in Athens. Socrates didn't believe it because he knew nothing. But then he realized that was the point. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. If you accept that everything you know might just be a trend, you become immune to dogma. You stop worshipping the current thing. You become flexible. You become a traveler rather than a settler. Don't be afraid of the idea that your beliefs are temporary. Embrace it. It means you are free to change them when better evidence comes along. The only dangerous people are the ones who think their current mental fashion is the eternal, unchanging word of truth. Keep scrolling if you want. But don't forget to look up away from the screen. Look at the stars and realize that our entire civilization is just a flicker of light. A brief, fascinating trend in an indifferent universe. And that's okay. In fact, it's kind of liberating.